I'd say first and foremost, I kind of told our guys going into this, even though it necessarily wasn't officially a championship game, Eastern Illinois was obviously 1-0 in the Miami Classic. We were as well. So that's what we treated it as. We got to get used to winning championships around here. I think that's so important to put our guys in these positions. I thought the game, obviously we got off to a really good start. We shot a lot of threes early. We didn't shoot enough threes in the second half. I thought we passed up some wide open looks. We did take care of the ball better as the game wore on. Got to the free throw line a lot, which was great. We were relentless driving the ball and posting it, but we got to take those open shots when they're there. I told our guys at halftime, listen, I know Coach Simmons. Coach Simmons is a great coach at Eastern Illinois. He was at Evansville for a long time. Coached against him before. Have a lot of respect for him. I knew they weren't going to give up. Yeah, they were going to play 40 minutes. They're too well coached, and they have a great culture over there at Eastern. So hats off to them. But I was glad, even though I wasn't glad in the moment, that we had to go through what we had to towards the end of the game, because we're going to be in that situation quite frequently throughout the year. Most games are won or lost there in those last 2 minutes, and you got to be able to execute. So that'll help us moving forward.
Coach, obviously you led the whole game, but it felt like you were really close at times to getting it into blowout territory and didn't quite get it there. What do you think is the step for your team to get to that?
Yeah, probably just maturity. We got to be able to extend the lead. You got to take care of it. You got to value the ball. Thought we were a little sloppy, even though we weren't turning it over necessarily. Just felt like we weren't doing we weren't doing much, right? Our flow wasn't very good in the second half. And give Eastern Illinois credit. Right. I mean, I thought they played really hard, and I thought their defense had something to do with that. But we got to be better in that regard, and that's on me. I thought we didn't get enough threes up. Like I said, right now without Anderson and Reese, we got to shoot at least 14 threes a half, and we got to get it up there. We shoot it too well. We're a great shooting team, and I got confidence in every one of our guys taking and making shots. I've seen them do it every single day. So. But hopefully that maturity, you go through those. You can tell people about it until you kind of go through it. You got to go through situations like that. And it's a great learning. Now we'll be able to go back and watch film with them and say, hey, listen, this is how you are able to extend the lead. Your execution level's got to go up, right? You can't ever let your foot off that pedal, or else the team's going to kind of linger around. And got tight there for a second. It was a 5-point game, and then we made some big plays at the end.
How do you think you guys were able to get Eastern into such horrible foul trouble in both halves?
I thought we were relentless driving the ball. They were hedging a lot. They were switching a lot. Initially, they played their big guy, Hamlin, and he was in drop coverage. And I thought we were able to really exploit that in ball screens. They sat him the rest of the game after the first 5 minutes, and they went smaller, right? So then they started switching and hedging, and I thought we were able to exploit that and be able to get some fouls on hedges. Like Ipsaro is so good at drawing fouls. I mean, he has a knack for it. He loves contact. Bryce Boltman loves contact. Those guys are contact seekers, and they're able to get to the line a lot.
Yeah, 4 double-digit scorers in this game. Did you think that you were going to have this much diversity on the offensive end this quickly in the season?
Yeah, I think we can have more. I really do. I think you're going to see Ryan Mabry take another big step. I think you'll see Brad Dean, guys like that. They both can really score. It's going to be different guys, different nights, though. And we got to be okay with that. Like Darwishi against Coppin State, I think only had 6, and he had 21 in the first 2 games, and he was fine. After the game, you couldn't tell whether he scored 21 or 6. He was just happy we won. And we're missing Anderson right now, who I think is the best offensive player in our league. And then we're also missing Reese, who's a really good offensive player. So I think we're going to have a lot of offensive firepower. So it's got to be that go-to guy is going to be the open guy. The ball's got to move. And if we stay committed to that, man, we're going to be able to score a lot of points this year.
So what's the biggest difference in this team from the first 2 games to these 2 games?
You're starting to figure out your team a little bit too. Obviously practice is practice. Then the lights come on. Some guys are good with the lights come on. Some guys aren't as good, right? I mean, it's just and some guys got to get comfortable. I mean, guys like Dean and Boltman, even though they play college basketball, they've never played D1 basketball. Then you get guys like Ipsaro and Cooper and Katecki and Elmer. I mean, this isn't high school anymore. So it's an adjustment. I think it's funny. Ken Pomeroy has it on his line. He has his experience level. We're one of the least, and that still includes Anderson. So if you take Anderson out of the deal, we're about 360th in experience in Division I minutes in the country. And just for the people out there that don't know, there's not that many more teams than 360. So, like, it's going to take our group a little bit of time, I think. And I think we're starting to figure it out a little bit. And I think we've gotten some pretty good point guard play here the last couple of games. Been better. And we'll keep making adjustments kind of moving forward. But just it's good growth. That's all I want to see is just continue to have that growth mindset moving forward.
It looked like, at least in the second half, you were trying to feed Bryson quite a bit for some one-on-one work inside.
Mm-hmm.
Was that part of your scheme there, your plan?
Yeah, so, we wanted to post him. He can post. He's really good with his back to the basket, unique for a perimeter guy, right? And if he gets a guy mismatch that we like, then we're going to try to exploit that. Then we also went at a guy that had 4 fouls. I was trying to get him out of the game, right, because he's our best player. And he had 4 fouls, and they were leaving him on the floor. And when that happens, man, you got to make that guy pay. And we, unfortunately, weren't able to get his 5th foul. He stayed in the game, and he hit some big shots for him.
They end up shooting pretty similarly, percentage-wise, from the first half to the second half. But they were able to kind of make a run, get it down to about 5-ish.
Yep.
What do you think was the biggest difference between the two halves then?
Yeah, I think we got to shoot more threes. I mean, I think in the first half, what did we shoot? 13 threes. We hit 6. Second half, we were 1 for 4. You can't pass up open threes. We got to shoot the ball. We got to let it fly. That's the strength, in my opinion, right now. That's the strength of our team. Darwishi is a 40-plus guy. I think Mabry's a 40-plus guy. Dean's a 40-plus guy. Boltman's a 40-plus guy. Ipsaro's a good shooter. Cooper's a good shooter. We got all these guys who can shoot the ball, and we space it really, really, really well. We got to let it fly. And, again, threes are worth more than twos. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. You know, like, now, obviously, will we have to make an adjustment at some point, like when Anderson and Reese come back? Yeah. But, like, I think, man, it makes us explosive. We can go on big runs because we shoot the ball so well.
Jaquel had 4 blocks. As long as he's not getting in foul trouble, it's kind of nice to have an enforcer or intimidator inside, isn't it?
Yeah, and he only had 2 fouls tonight. Hopefully he's starting to figure out how to play without fouling. Right? I mean, he was a hack last year. It felt like he would. I mean, he had to be top 5 in the country in fouls per minute. He's figuring out. We need him on the floor right now. We do. We need him on the floor. He makes a big difference for us on the defensive end and his rebounding and his athleticism. I would love to get the ball just into him just a hair more, because that's another way to get a paint touch, right? And because he does have some mismatches down there at times.
Are there any updates on Reese and Anderson?
I think you'll see Anderson back in December, hopefully early December, and then Reese is kind of day to day at this point. You know, Reese could play probably right now if it was the end of the season, but I want to make sure that we're doing what's right for him long term. Just we don't want anything to linger throughout the year, because I want him to be able to play at 100%, and because he'll make another huge impact on our team.
Evan, obviously you shot a lot of free throws and you had a big night tonight. Was that part of the plan with Eastern getting in so much foul trouble early on to just try and get to the free throw line as much as possible?
In the scout, we kind of knew that the big dude that they started, he was a little slower. So as soon as we started to pick them apart, I mean, we got off to a 9-0 run. Once we started to pick them apart, then they subbed their backup big in, and he was always a second late on the, like, hedging out. So you just clip his hip, and they call a foul every time. But once, like, you start getting in the rhythm of free throws, it's much easier to just keep getting in the line.
You on the defensive end for a freshman have been very strong. You've been drawing a lot of offensive fouls here early on in your career here. Do you consider the defensive end kind of the big part of your game, I guess?
Yeah, because, I mean, I play, like, everybody on the team plays as hard as they can, so it's a lot easier to play harder on defense, because on offense you got to stay more controlled. It's hard to play hard and controlled on offense. You got to slow down. Well, on defense, I mean, you can just go be a terror. I mean, I have to. I'm only about 6 foot tall, so the harder I play, and I think that's my best side of the floor.
And obviously, you had to play a good chunk of this game on 4 fouls. Did that change anything for you individually in terms of what you had to do on the defensive end?
A little bit. I mean, yeah, I'd say so. Because, I mean, I like to get into people. I'm a very physical guy. I mean, I like contact. So, like, I kind of had to watch myself. And, like, someone would cut in front of me, I can't, check them or anything like that. So I kind of had to watch out for that stuff. But other than that, it was basically just the same.
Yeah, along those lines, the 4 fouls, although the last one that you got, probably could have gone either way. do you play very aggressive defense? Do you usually have to worry about fouls at all?
Not really. Usually I'm pretty good at showing my hands, and especially like on the ball. I show my hands pretty well. The main thing that gets me in trouble, I'd say, is like what I said earlier, just checking people. Like I got one on the rebounding. I mean, that's a foul I think any coach will take, though. You're trying to box out, you hit him out of bounds. Like that's a fine foul. So all my fouls are basically just me trying to be physical. So, I mean, I'm not going to stop being physical. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing. But, yeah, sometimes, like today, and I think I had 3 against Coppin State. So I do foul a lot.
As the point guard, you're a floor general out there. How do you see it 4 games in as far as coming together, and especially with now you've got 4 games at the speed of the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, from the first game, even the second game to now, I mean, we've made huge improvements. We started moving the ball more. Guys aren't taking, 4 or 5 dribbles like every time they catch the ball. And like most importantly, everybody's playing for one another. Like no one's playing for themselves. No one cares how many points they score. They're playing for the guy next to them. And I think when you have that mentality, it's really easy to put a lot of points up on the board.
Do you like from what you see, the ability of this team to have scoring from a lot of different places? That you feel like you could get it to a lot of different people and get scoring out of that?
Oh, yeah, it helps a lot. I mean, especially how our offense is. Any guy could have a good night. I mean, Wishi's been the most consistent one putting them up, but, like, Bryce had 25 or something against Coppin State. So anyone can really have a good game any day. It just depends who's shooting it well and who's being more aggressive. And we realize who's shooting the ball well, and we get them the ball more. So, yeah.
Okay, you guys started out 0-2, and now you're 2-2. What's the biggest difference between the first 2 games and the last 2?
I'd probably just say we came together more as a team. We're playing for one another more. Like I said earlier, stats and everything like that, no one on the team really cares, especially now. I mean, everybody in the locker room just wants to win. I mean, you hate that feeling going somewhere or even losing on your home court. It sucks. And I think we all understood that. So I think we're going to take this momentum and hopefully go beat St. Bonaventure.